Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Ukraine completed all of the 3 bridges across the very important Seine River in the Kursk oblast, blocking the Russian forces in the southern part. So step by step, at first Glushkova bridge was completed, then the next one, and yesterday the third one. And in this sector totally there are just 3 of the bridges and the river is quite wide. Well, it means that all of this group of the Russian forces on the southern part of the Kursk oblast is left without any sort of the supplies. And Ukraine continued to push Russia from the east. There is definitely the attack vector towards the biggest settlement in this place, which is Glushkova. And recently Ukraine took the part of the Russian territory on the west. So the situation for the Russian soldiers looks almost the same as in Kherson. The only difference is that this river is not that wide compared to Dnipro river in Kherson. So Russia is still able to construct pontoon bridges or pontoon bridges across it. But you know what, Ukraine aims those as well, so recently built pontoon bridge was kaboomed by Ukrainian artillery. We even have the satellite image of it, so Russians built this pontoon bridge recently, and after a single day it disappeared. Plus there is the smoke reported in place, so probably Ukraine hit not just the bridge but the Russian forces attempting to cross the river. My friends, if you want to support the job that I do on YouTube, you may follow me also on Patreon. The link for my page is available in the video description just below. Thank you so much for supporting my motivation, then YouTube cancels monetization. Russians also post those kind of the maps saying that Ukraine cut Glushkovsky district from the Russian supplies, showing that all the 3 bridges are down. They say that Ukraine isolated around 700,000 kilometers of the area, kicking 3 of the bridges out. So in a nearby perspective, Russians would have to withdraw from the place. Otherwise, little by little, Ukraine will just annihilate them. No army is able to keep the ground without the proper supplies. The only way for Russians to evacuate is using the boats, as it partially was in Kherson Oblast. What about the Ukrainian army advancement for the last 24 hours? Well, it seems like Ukraine is concentrating the forces to take Kornevo under control. Kornevo is the strategic settlement in the place which opens the way to advance towards Rilsk, for example. As the Russian military experts say, Ukraine may also start the attack from Kozina to reach Rilsk. And if Kornevo is taken by Ukraine, Ukrainian army might advance from 2 of the directions towards this very important settlement. So potentially all of this part could be lost for Russia, but it's hypothetical theory. But it looks like Ukraine might start this operation because it concentrates some of the reinforcements in the place. And judging on the recent update from the Institute for the Study of War, this area has already been taken by Ukraine. So probably for now Ukraine is not going to take the E38 road under control, but to advance from a little southern part, and Rilsk is not that far away. The main idea for Ukraine is to break through the Russian defense. Probably this time Russians will be more prepared on the second defense lines. However, Putin continued to send conscripts to fight in the Kursk oblast. He doesn't have any more reserves of the Russian regular army. They're not only not taking the Russian army from Pokrovsk direction from the eastern part of Ukraine, but they reinforced the group of the Russian soldiers in Ukrainian front lines. Here, to defend Russia, Russia uses, as I told you, conscripts. So the nearby future of the Ukrainian group in Kursk will be determined of whether Ukraine is capable to get Kornevo at least under control. From what I understood, Ukraine is regrouping forces for the major strike on the settlement. For the last 24 hours, there was just 1 territorial gain of Ukraine. Ukraine took Vyshenki village under control, closing the gap between the river and Ukrainian-controlled territory. And later on, Ukraine will go to Kornevo from at least 2 of the directions, but potentially from 3 of the directions if Ukraine is successful taking Veterano. We have more maps explaining the situation, so Vyshenki is now taken by Ukraine, and Ukraine, according to the recent information, was able to advance towards the river and continue its attacks towards south and southwest. And this is the Kornevo town, which is under the Russian control. Ukraine entered the settlement, but just partially. And Ukraine has several of the possible attack vectors. The most real attack vectors are over here and also from the south. The success of the Kornevo operation depends on whether Ukraine is capable to cross this tiny little river in this place. Well, I believe that it is possible, and Olegivka recently was taken by Ukraine. like one day ago. But there are some of the settlements which Russia might use and uses as the defense line. To take Kornova with all of the Russian group in a settlement and have as less losses as possible, Ukraine should advance to cut the supply road. Again, it is the perfect scenario. The situation on the ground is really unknown. No publicly available military map will show you the real picture, with actual information about the Russian or Ukrainian forces. Number of the tanks, infantry vehicles, troops, all of that is top secret, let's say, but military analytics conclude that Ukraine has advantage in Kursk oblast against the Russian army. And here we have the update from the deep state military map, but I would say that they're a little late compared to other sources. But still, here you may see the effectiveness of the Ukrainian army advancement, and soon I guess that everything will be blue here too. Belarus sends more of the army reinforcements to the southern part of its border. The idea is to make Ukraine to send the forces in Zhytomyr Oblast, Rivne and Kiev. The Belarus regime works in tandem with Russia, but whether Belarus is really capable to attack Ukraine, yes. But whether they will do it in reality, no. I don't really think that Putin is capable to convince Lukashenko to make this suicide step, because after all, Belarus people are not Russians. I believe that they will not support the war against the neighboring country, so it will be the final step of the Lukashenko regime. It is basically the main reason for Lukashenko not to attack Ukraine, because there were protests in Belarus in 2020. Unfortunately, by the time, with the help of Russia, by the way, Lukashenko was able to get rid of protesters. Many of those were jailed or just were forced to leave the country. The world media also say that Belarus sends more troops and aircraft to its border with Ukraine. Well, those are just the threats for Ukraine, that's it. Alright, this is one of the biggest Russian oil bases and also the Russian oil refinery facilities. It is located in Rostov Oblast, near the Proletarsk town. The facility is burning for the third day already. Judging on the satellite images, at least 10 of the big tanks are on fire, and totally there are 74 of the tank reservoirs, some of them with oil and some with gasoline. It is not just the ordinary Russian oil storage, it is the strategic Russian combinate Kavkaz, actually one of the biggest facilities of that type inside the Russian Federation, and you know Russia just cannot allow those losses. That's why they'll have to reinforce the air defense of those objects. But Russia is quite limited with the air defense, so they will have to take them out from, for example, Ukrainian front lines, which will make the life of the Ukrainian military aviation much safer. Those strikes not just apply sanctions on the Russian oil and oil refinery facilities, but they also help Ukrainian military. The Akhmat battalion commander supported the idea for Russia to use conscripts in fighting against the Ukrainian army in the Kursk oblast. He says that if conscripts are unusable even to defend its motherland, why should we need that army? So he's not saying that Akhmat army will protect Russia. No, Akhmat soldiers are only for the conscripts to be sent. Well, potentially Putin may send around 100,000 conscripts to reinforce the border, but those are basically kids, 18 years old, just have reached 18 years old age, and again that type of the service in the Russian army is compulsory. They didn't choose to serve, no, they were just taken to the Russian army, that's it. Well, if Putin decides to make that move, it will be very unpopular in Russia, even more unpopular than mobilization. People in Russia still remember how the conscripts were totally eliminated in Chechnya, for example. But this war goes at a much larger scale. Chechnya looks like a kindergarten if we speak about the losses. But the reaction of the Russian society is very, very strange. By the time of the Chechnya war, many perceived it as the tragedy for the Russian people and for the Russian army. By that time, there were still many of the opposition sources, for example, NTV. NTV means Независимое телевидение, which means independent TV, so independent TV channel which now belongs purely to the Russian propaganda. During the Chechnya war, many of the channels criticized the Yeltsin and later on Putin's regime. But when Putin got the full power, he just got rid of the editors, opposition editors of the channels, of the other press, and now people in Russia see a totally different picture which has nothing to do with reality. So obviously Putin will use conscripts if there is no active resistance from the mothers basically of those conscripts. Ahmad battalion will be just happy about it because they will not have to go and fight in Kursk Oblast, for example. The Ukrainian soldiers in the Kursk Oblast say that they're just temporary over there. The main task for them is to finish the war in Ukraine. They don't need the Kursk Oblast, and it is understandable. Ukraine is not the aggressor country, but Russia started this war as an aggressor, so the aim for Ukraine is to deliver the same war to the Russian Federation, for Russians and the Russian regime feel it themselves. Until the Kursk operation started, Putin was more or less free to act in Ukraine. He wasn't risking, but now he's risking to lose, at least temporarily, his own territory. Meanwhile, on the Russian propaganda TV, they call to bomb the Kursk Oblast, yes, the own territory of the Russian Federation. They call the term carpet bombing, so it means bombing the entire area with no any precision, just the area with all of the buildings, civilian infrastructure. Yes, they say like that on the main channel of the Russian propaganda TV. They call bombing Russia. Well, what can I say that for Russian experts, officials, and in this case members of parliament, the Russia doesn't exist outside Moscow. You may easily eliminate everything outside Moscow using the carpet bombing and they'll be fine. The construction of the century, as Putin called it, the pipeline Force of Siberia 2, actually is frozen now. The gas pipeline should have gone through Novy Orengoy, the Russian main gas hub, then via Krasnoyarsk, Altai, Ulaanbaatar, via Mongolia territory to China. Potentially it might bring Russia billions of dollars. But the construction was stopped because China and Russia were not able to agree on the gas price. And you know what? Russia mainly builds the pipeline using its own funds. China later on just promised to buy the gas from Russia, signing the long-term contract. But it looks like something went wrong between the allies. China really wants to get as cheap resources as possible from Russia. They want to get profit from the sanctions applied on the Russian companies. But at this time Russia didn't agree on the Chinese proposal, so they decided to freeze this construction, which is good. I think that China just stays and waits, then Russia will become very, very weak, and later on China may take the gas for free, just by taking the territories. Zelensky in his interview said that Ukraine was forced to start the Kursk operation because it hadn't had the approval from the allies to use the long-range missiles against the Russian airfields. That is why Ukraine is now creating the buffer area. Zelensky continued to say that Ukraine needs that permission to use, for example, ATACMS against the Russian military airfields, and I think that after all allies will give that approval. A Czech President Petr Pavel said that Ukraine could be accepted to NATO even then the war is not yet over. Well, according to him, from what I understood from the article, he speaks about the special boundary between the Russian forces and the Ukrainian army, which potentially could be created during the ceasefire, and for that the peace talks are must-have. But whether this variant is possible with the current Russian regime, I don't think so. They'll do their best to avoid this possible scenario and to mark the border between them and Ukrainian-controlled territory. Yeah, obviously, neither Ukraine nor any kind of the normal country would recognize the occupation of Ukraine. But there could be negotiations that the fifth article should be applied only if Russia tries to cross some sort of the new marcation line. And in a while, maybe after some years after the Russian regime collapse, Ukraine might return its territories in diplomatic way. But something tells me that it's just a fairy tale variant with pinky ponies. Russia is not willing to mark any sort of the territory. Their goal is to occupy Ukraine, and they're doing what they can to reach that goal. Actually, they're not tuned for any sort of the peace agreements with the Ukraine. Now, the new excuse for the Russian regime not to negotiate with the Ukraine is that Ukraine entered the Russian territory in Kursk Oblast. Lavrov said about it, that no negotiations are possible with Kiev regime after what they've done. He basically shared the message of Vladimir Putin. Before Russia told their stupid demands for Ukraine to start the negotiations, they said that Ukraine should give up its territories for Russia. Everyone understands that Ukraine will never do it, so the peace talks with Russia are absolutely impossible at the current stage. and I guess they're impossible with the current Russian regime. And now let's go to Ukrainian front lines review, the main Russian attack vector in Pokrovsk direction. Well, today they propelled, as you may see, it was yesterday and it is today. They went very close to the Krasny Yar village. It's already one of the main lines of the Ukrainian defense, and we'll see if it holds the Russian attacks. As you see, Russia still has the plan to go to Pokrovsk and occupy the town. The Kursk operations so far haven't influenced the appetite of the Russian army on the east. Moreover, they're sending new reinforcements. In general, the plan for the Russian army in 2025 to have 800,000 soldiers fighting in Ukraine. It means that they need 300,000 more soldiers. 300,000, this number is just enormous, so I'm 100% sure that there will be mobilization for the Russian army in that case. Let's check out the distance towards Pokrovsk. It's less than 10 kilometers, my friends. Roughly 6 miles. In the beginning of the month, the distance was 12 miles. Russia also managed to occupy many of the settlements in the place. Zhuravlivka, Zavitne, probably, yes, they went to this village, but not yet able to fully occupy it. They also expand their attack sideways just to make sure that they have good bridgehead for the further strike. And a couple of days ago, Ukraine has already announced the evacuation of 2 of those settlements, Mirnograd and Pokrovsk. Right, what's the situation in New York? As you see, it was almost fully occupied by the Russian forces. Well, according to my information, there are just a few of the streets left under Ukrainian control. So Russia is now limited in 2 of those areas, Toretsk and Pokrovsk direction. No assaults on the south, no assaults in Chasiv Yar, no, they fixed just on 2 points. It also means that the resource of the Russian army is quite limited. They were forced to get some of their soldiers from the Kherson Oblast, at least 5,000 of the army personnel, and they send those to the Kursk Oblast, Russian Federation. Well, anyways, we're gonna see how it goes in the nearby future. My friends, now please don't forget to press your big like or huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot, and I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are.